My name is Bella, and my body story is about growing up in a mixed-race household. So my mom is third-generation Japanese American, which is called Sansei, which makes me fourth generation, which is called Yonsei. And my dad immigrated to the US from Mexico when he was 6 years old. And he always tells me about how his first American meal was at a Carl's Jr. in a gas station in Texas. When I was growing up, I had this identity of being both Japanese and Mexican, but at the same time, it kind of felt like I was neither. When I was a baby, I looked more Japanese than I did Mexican, and when my dad would take me out for walks or out to the park, a lot of people mistook him for the nanny. But at the same time, when he came with me to enroll me into kindergarten, I looked more Mexican because I was asked he was asked if he wanted to put me into the ESL program, which is the English learning program for students who only knew Spanish and didn't know any English. So I feel like I was seen primarily as Mexican, as that's what most of my peers were, until I wasn't, because I still had that other part of me. I didn't speak any Spanish. I didn't speak to any of my family in Mexico because I couldn't. And I didn't have any Japanese relatives that were my age except for my brother, basically, for me to be able to feel fully connected to that part of my identity. My mother also tried connecting with her Japanese identity. A comment that I would get a lot from people growing up was the fact that they didn't think that she was Japanese because she didn't fit this short, petite idea of what a Japanese person is supposed to look like. Which she also had insecurities with a lot too. And she told me about how when she was in college, she went on this trip with her aunt to Japan, and they found the region where her family is supposed to be from. And she said that it was so interesting because the people there looked like her. They were darker, they were bigger, they were taller, they had more muscle because they were built to live in the mountains. They had to be strong like that. And I just found it so interesting that even within being a full person, there was still that idea of identity and still trying to figure out oh, but this. In LA, there's this Japanese American museum, and they had an exhibition called I Am Hapa, which Hapa Hau'ole is a Hawaiian term that means half foreigner. And it was originally used as sort of a negative thing to describe somebody as, but over time it got turned into a form of identity. And in the exhibit, they had these portraits of people who are of Asian ancestry and a statement next to them where they wrote down what it means to be Hapa. And my mom got me the book because I wasn't able to see the exhibition in person. And it was really interesting just reading it and seeing all the other experiences that people had. People talked about the war, or they talked about their experience of being in mixed ethnicity and how that impacted their identity. And even there were toddlers who they just were scribbling. So it's just, I feel opening up that connection and seeing other people's experiences made me realize that no matter how someone thinks that we're supposed to look or act, they'll never truly know the full story of who we are as people.